It all started as just another calm and uneventful afternoon for Marcus Williams. After spending the entire day buried in work from home, he was finally ready to unwind. He grabbed a snack, settled onto his couch, and picked out a movie, his perfect way to relax. But just as he hit play, the worst thing happened: buffering. At first, he shrugged it off, thinking it was just a temporary glitch. But as the loading wheel kept spinning endlessly, frustration bubbled inside him. "Come on," he muttered, clicking around impatiently. Annoyed, he decided to check his internet speed, expecting it to be a simple fix. But when the speed test results popped up, his jaw nearly hit the floor. His connection was practically non-existent. What? That didn't make any sense. He lived alone, and there was no way he could have used up all that bandwidth by himself. Confused, Marcus dug into his router settings, his curiosity quickly turning into concern. That's when he spotted something that made his stomach twist into knots. His Wi-Fi usage was abnormally high, way higher than it should have been. But that wasn't even the worst part. As he scrolled deeper into the settings, his eyes widened in shock. There, listed under connected devices, were several unknown names. Strange, cryptic names that didn't match anything he owned. His pulse quickened as he counted them. 1, 2, 3, no. There were way too many. It was as if an entire household was using his internet. Without his permission, a cold realization crept over him. Someone had been mooching off his Wi-Fi. Not just someone, but multiple people. And judging by the number of unknown devices, it had been happening for a long time. Possibly months. He clenched his fists. How had he not noticed this sooner? Who was behind this? Where are you watching this video today? Let us know in the comments below. Determined to find out, Marcus ran a quick scan, and soon enough, the culprit was exposed. Karen Wilkins. His nosy, ever-meddling next-door neighbor. His stomach dropped. Of course, it was her. It had to be her. From the very day Marcus moved into the so-called peaceful suburban neighborhood, Karen had made it clear that she didn't want him there. She was always watching him, peeking through her curtains like she was the self-appointed sheriff of the block. She'd glare at him every time he mowed his lawn, making it painfully obvious she disapproved of something, though he never knew what. If that wasn't enough, she had a habit of complaining about everything. His music? Too loud, even though it was barely above a whisper. His car? Out of place, as if she personally dictated what vehicles were allowed on the street. She even went as far as reporting him to the HOA for the most ridiculous things, like the way he positioned his trash cans. But this was a new low. Marcus wasn't about to let it slide. Without hesitation, he took action. He changed his Wi-Fi password, rebooted his router, and even enabled a stronger firewall to make sure this never happened again. Within seconds, every unauthorized device vanished from his network. Relief washed over him as he leaned back, letting the stress melt away. Finally, he could relax, or so he thought, just as he reached for the remote, ready to finally start his movie. Boom. A loud, aggressive pounding shook his front door. The walls trembled with each hit. The knocking didn't stop. It got louder, angrier, more demanding. Marcus sighed. He already knew who it was. When he opened the door, there she stood, Karen, her face red with fury, her phone clenched so tightly her knuckles were white. She looked like she had just run a marathon, but instead of exhaustion, she was fueled by pure, unfiltered rage. "Did you just change your Wi-Fi password?" she snapped, her voice sharp with accusation. Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Why do you care?" Karen scoffed, throwing her hands in the air like he was the one being unreasonable. "Because I was in the middle of an important Zoom call, and now my internet isn't working. My meeting got cut off completely. Do you have any idea how embarrassing that was?" Marcus folded his arms. "You mean my internet? The one you were stealing?" Karen huffed. "Oh, please. You don't even use all of it. And besides, it's not like you're paying extra for me to be on it." Marcus let out a sharp, disbelieving laugh. "Karen, You stole my Wi-Fi, and now you're mad that I stopped you. You're being selfish, she shot back. This is a community. Good neighbors share. Marcus shook his head. You know what? If you have a problem, call your provider and get your own plan. Karen's expression darkened. For a split second, it looked like she was going to argue, but instead, she let out a sharp huff, turned on her heel, and stormed away, muttering something under her breath about some people not understanding community spirit. Marcus thought that was the end of it, but oh, he was wrong. As he settled back onto his couch, determined to finally enjoy his movie, the distant sound of sirens caught his attention. At first, he assumed it was just another patrol car passing by, until flashing red and blue lights filled his living room. His stomach dropped. No way she didn't. But she did. Karen had called the cops on him. 2 officers stepped onto his porch, their expressions unreadable. The stocky one adjusted his belt and cleared his throat, while his partner, a taller man with sharp eyes, glanced between Marcus and the flashing lights. Sir, the first officer spoke, his voice steady but firm. We got a complaint from your neighbor that you're tampering with public utilities. Marcus blinked. Excuse me? Karen emerged from behind them, arms crossed. Yes, he's cutting off access to the internet on purpose, just to mess with me. The officer turned back to Marcus. Sir, does she have authorized access to your network? Marcus shook his head. No, this is my personal Wi-Fi. I pay for it. She was using it without my permission. He pulled out his phone and scrolled through his router logs. And I have the proof. The officer studied the screen, then turned to Karen. Ma'am, do you have your phone on you? Karen hesitated. Yes. Please open your Wi-Fi settings. Her hands trembled as she pulled out her phone. The moment she did, the officer's eyebrows lifted. Her device was still trying to connect to Marcus's old password. Busted. The officer sighed. Ma'am, this isn't tampering with utilities. This is unauthorized access to a private network, also known as theft of service. Karen's face turned ghost white. It's just Wi-Fi. The officer shook his head. Ma'am, using someone's internet without permission is illegal. And now, you've also wasted police resources over something that isn't even a crime on his part. Karen's face burned red with humiliation. The next day, Marcus watched from his porch, sipping his coffee as an internet provider truck parked in front of Karen's house. She stood outside, arms crossed, scowling at the workers as they set up her connection. Finally, she had to do what she should have done all along, pay for her own internet. Marcus chuckled. Some lessons, it seemed, had to be learned the hard way. And his Wi-Fi, it was finally his again. No buffering, no freeloaders, just the way it should be.